LBS and ES partnership, and we're going to talk a little bit about our experiences with it and how we've seen many benefits, and we'll also talk about how we've put it together and how we've integrated with the community as well with this. So being in employment service, we know that the challenge is that we're facing barriers. Many job seekers have barriers to employment. That's usually why they end up in our offices, and so we're all very aware of that. Barriers such as job search skills, job expectations, basic employability skills, or lack thereof. And usually, a lot of times what we'll see is a lack of IT skills as well. Of course, with all of these barriers, there can be an issue with their confidence. And so that's something also that plays into this concept of employability as well. So our solution, and this is for the average job seeker to overcome these barriers, is to integrate the LBS structures and the ES structures together. And here's just a few points that we focus on. And this is where we've seen some success, is we focus on a streamlined and focused learning goal. What that means is if people want to get back to work quickly, and by quickly we mean a few days or a few months, somewhere in between, we try to focus their learning goals. We try to look at what they want to do, what kind of employment they're looking for, and we really focus on learning in that area. And then of course we have our coaching and support, so we have some really good staff that help the learning process go along. And then we also encourage self-directions, because this is really important. So we don't really have a learning system that is, I guess, test-based and assignment-based and exam-based, where we have a learning system that's based on if they continue to do work and self-direct themselves, they will continue to learn and elevate their levels of academic success. And of course we have an employment-related learning core. So what that means is we talk to employers and we find out what it is they'd like to have people know to make it in the workforce. And so we integrate that into our learning. And we also give people direction and coaching and support and advice to drive them to make sure that they incorporate some of these learning cores into what they feel are their goals. And of course, we always like to work with the community, so we're always helping out with referring job seekers to complementary services like LBS, college prep, even independent learning centers, or employment programs. So collaborating with the community is really important. So what does that mean? That means the employers, the employment programs, the LBS centers, and the post-secondary institutions. And so we feel that we're a pretty good hub for a job seeker to start with. If they want to get back to work right away, we focus on collaborating with employers and employment programs. If they feel that they need learning, then we collaborate with LBS centers and post-secondary institutions. For instance, somebody might be interested in a longer-term learning, and that might include some college prep or adult upgrading. And that's where we might have a really good farm program here where we can refer them out to where they see their goals fit best. And of course, with the employers, there's a couple here, the local Kingston General Hospital, Empire Life, just a couple of good examples of how we collaborate with employers. We find out what the employers are looking for, and then we make sure that we encourage job seekers in this program to make sure that they're good at these skills, or at least increase their aptitude in these skills. And of course, we've got the employment programs we're all familiar with, the job training subsidies and the COJG, Kickstart Your Career, just to name a few. And so we can also help job seekers know about these programs and see how that fits into their employment goals as well. We've collaborated with the LBS centers as well. There's been a number of our clients who we have determined as a team that they've just needed more extensive knowledge and learning that requires a little bit more time and to go back to the basics. And we've had other clients who have a lot of the basics and they're ready to go. They've dabbled with a little bit of learning in our lab, and they've decided they want to take the plunge to a local career college or a local community college like St. Lawrence College. And so our program can sometimes be an interesting discovery portal for people to learn about what what they can do and what they're capable of doing and what things they like and what things they might want to stay away from. So we've seen clients who have come in looking for work but have decided that maybe they actually want to go to college. And so we can help with a discovery for clients and job seekers of that nature as well. Of course, lots of benefits. Benefits to the community, benefits to the learner, i.e. job seeker, and benefits to the employment service. So we've got what we can succeed here with is an increased access of learning. So what that means is they don't have to register into a course and like 3 or 4 months or 2 or 3 years later feel like they've got the learning they need to get into workplace. They can focus their learning and have lots of learning here on site that's directly related to the workplace, and do that in a timely fashion, very effectively and efficiently. And the training does meet the local labor needs. In some cases, we actually look at job postings to determine what the topics may be for learning. So we're directly pulling the learning topics from the job postings. And in that way, employers help to direct the training. And in some other ways, the employers have actually given us tips on what to train potential employees with, so that they would be a better fit in their organization. So again, we talk about referrals, and sometimes other centers are more helpful than we are because they specialize in other things, like a high school diploma, for instance, would be one thing that we would refer out, or college preparatory courses, things like that we don't necessarily focus on here. But we can refer them out and we can give them proper guidance. And again, it's a great hub for discovery for these job seekers. And they get custom and focused learning. So what that means is they pick what they learn and they pick what they want to learn. Of course, with our guidance and advice and what the jobs are calling for, but they, in essence, do get to make a lot of the decisions on what they would like to learn. So now I'm going to hand it over to Mary Delinas, who really is the backbone of the process of this project, and she'll tell you a little bit more about how it actually works.
All right, so my first goal today is to clarify the difference between the college prep program, the LBS program on campus, and what we do here off-site at Employment Services on Mid-Park Drive in Kingston. So in St. Lawrence's college prep program on campus, we offer a wide variety of courses that students need to meet post-secondary admission requirements. So courses in math, English, and the sciences. We also offer computer courses, plus a course in self-management and self-direction. Now, the latter course focuses on developing skills that will help students succeed in post-secondary studies, skills such as managing time, setting and meeting goals, taking notes, reading textbooks, studying for exams, taking exams, accessing course websites, and so on. So that's quite a variety of courses. By contrast, at the Employment Services site here, we offer only one course, a job search version of self-management and self-direction. All the modules in this course focus on areas that job seekers may need as they look for employment. The 24 modules fall under 6 areas of focus: personal development, communication for employment, digital technology, further education, business numeracy, and community involvement. Now, students who complete 10 of the 25 modules earn a Statement of Achievement from St. Lawrence. The prospect of earning a concrete, current credential appeals to job seekers whose resumes are sparse in this category. The ideal candidate for the Employment Services version of self-management, self-direction is someone who needs a lot of help and has lots of time to get that help. One example would be someone who has been laid off after many years in a job that required no computer skills. Ideally, this person is on EI or a severance package and doesn't have to find work as soon as possible in order to pay the bills. Folks who register with us in our ACE course, Self-Management and Self-Direction, typically begin with some digital technology and communication for employment modules. In order to produce resumes and cover letters, folks need to develop basic skills in word processing. In order to look through online job boards, folks need to surf the web. In order to apply for some jobs, folks need to complete online applications. From this starting point, our students quickly branch out. Some may be interested in a position but have no real idea of what's involved, so we direct that person to the Career Exploration module under the Personal Development area of focus. Somebody else may realize that a service job requires credentials in SmartServe and food handling. We pull up the Community Involvement area of focus and steer that person toward the Take a Course module. Several of our students realized that their lack of a high school diploma was narrowing their range of possible jobs. Cue the Further Education area of focus to explore what upgrading options are available and what would be the best fit for each person. Some people may need business numeracy, things like inventory, budgeting, and sales. So we direct them to that area of focus. So to summarize, the learner can decide what to learn. Learners can decide what to learn so long as it is contributing to the increase of their employability skills. Although all of the modules and the students' progress through our ACE course is very organic and learner-centered, it's not totally loosey-goosey. For every module, there is a learner guide sheet outlining tasks and learning activities, and there's also an evaluation sheet that we go through to make sure that students have achieved everything that they need and can demonstrate what they've learned in that particular module to get credit for it. And once we've completed the evaluation sheet, we hand that document over to the admin assistant on campus so that the information gets captured. Now that was an overview of the course. Here's an overview of the logistics of mounting that course. The benefits are real, but so are the costs. The course was developed 3 or 4 years ago when Nancy Scoville was manager of the college prep program on Tri-Campus SLC. Nancy has 20/20 foresight. She realized the multiple benefits of establishing the LBS ES partnership. Nancy met with SLC's Employment Services Manager at the time, our own Janet Ashford, and they agreed to pilot the course at the off-campus Employment Services site. The course would run on Tuesday afternoons from 12:30 to 3:30. When an employment counselor at Employment Services had a client who would benefit from the course, the college prep faculty member went out to do an intake appointment, which consisted of filling out the forms, registering the student on the Essential Skills for Employment and Education site to do the assessments, then selecting modules and introducing Employment Services employee, Carm Hunter, who was hired by Nancy to teach the course. Carm submitted weekly updates on what each person enrolled in the course had worked on. Now he submitted these updates to LBS folks and also to ES folks, to the employment counselor for each of the clients. As enrollment in the course grew, a Thursday afternoon session was added. I came on board so that I could help teach and also be on site for spontaneous intakes. I also ensured that the college prep secretary on campus has all the paperwork and stats that she needs for CAMS. I'm paid out of the LBS budget, not the ES budget. And CARM's hours in this course are also paid out of an LBS budget, not an ES budget. Now, as for space, we're lucky because SLC's Employment Services site on Mid-Park Drive in Kingston had a windowless and therefore not coveted back room that had been used mainly for storage. The room was purged, desks and computers were brought in, voila, we had our classroom. The promotional blurb for the website indicates that we'll talk about textbooks as well, so I'll do that. My husband did a master's in wildlife management when he was young. He studied feeding habits of the coyotes on Manitoulin Island. I remember his description of coyotes as being opportunistic predators. I've remembered that phrase for so long because it reminds me of LBS teachers on the prowl for textbooks. Opportunistic predators take immediate advantage of any situation. They do hunt, but they also scavenge because it's easier than hunting. How many of you have gone dumpster diving for textbooks? If you're a teacher in the college sector, you may have had a cleaner time of it because you can take entire stacks of textbooks that retiring professors put in the hallway outside their offices. Here at Mid-Park, we got all of our textbooks by scavenging them. For example, main campus of St. Lawrence always gets computer updates before Mid-Park does, so we scoop up computer text from main campus. We also get hand-me-downs from the college prep program on main campus. And since college prep also scavenges text, by the time we get them, the texts are third or fourth generation hand-me-downs. Sound familiar? This is not to say that all our resources are out of date, quite the contrary. While we do use some textbooks or bits of textbooks, mainly we use online resources, so we are as current as a trending hashtag. Now, while I'm especially good at scavenging hard copy resources, Carm is great at digital dumpster diving, so I'll hand it back to him.
Okay, super. Yeah, we do have a lot of different textbooks kicking around now, thanks to the college's ambition to have everything brand spanking new. So there's a lot of books that are floating around that really aren't that old at all. But you can imagine students paying $3,000 to $4,000 for tuition want the brand new of everything. So in fact, there are a lot of ways to save a lot of money to put a course like this together, and those are a bunch of them there. And as Mary mentioned, there's so many things online, especially with the digital technology areas. It's almost seems ridiculous to try to create or purchase brand new textbooks for every digital technology, such as, say, Microsoft Office, where MicrosoftOffice.com site has a wealth of information just there alone. So we have been able to put together really high-end and high-quality and up-to-date materials for really not a lot of money, to be honest with you. We've spent, we bought some brand new books, but for the most part, as Mary said, we've been able to get a lot of hand-me-downs that aren't that old really at all. And as far as the computers go, I believe, I might stand corrected, but I believe the computers were going to be sort of turned in because they were too old, I think. But they're certainly new enough for us here, and a lot of workplaces, a lot of employers have computers that are even older than the ones we have for sure, and are using software older than what we use. So even though you know, we're not probably the cutting edge or the brand newest of everything here, it certainly is sufficient for the workplace. And so in terms of chairs and other stuff, yeah, there can be some financing there involved, and of course the staffing as well. So there are some costs involved in putting a program like this together. So far the feedback's been good. We've actually been able to drive people through the door to register using our learning program, LBSEE, as a lure to get people through the door as well. So there are benefits financially as well when you think about that too. So the costs are definitely real, but the costs can be kept minimal because students aren't paying $3,000 to $4,000. They're not expecting the flashiest of everything, and in fact, none of them have really been upset with our materials, and we've been able to supply, I think, almost anything anybody's been looking for, really. It just takes a little bit of time to seek these things out. So that's a little bit about the logistics and the costs and whatnot, and I will be turning it over to Lori Crossley, who is our employment consultant, who does a special role as well, where she actually works out of an LBS site one day a week, and she's going to talk to you a little bit more about that.
Good morning, everyone. And as Carm said, yes, I do work out of an LBS site. I just want to give you a bit of an overview about that. So I share office space in a resource center that's in Sydenham, Ontario. It's about 20 minutes north of Kingston, and it's a real rural community there. And Sydenham is basically a hub for about 9 rural communities that serve about 18,000 people. The LBS site is a full-service, 5-day-a-week site, and their focus is on community education. It's served by one full-time Limestone District School Board staff, and I know it says 4 days a week on the presentation, but actually they've decided this year to try 5 days a week. And so far the uptake is that it's been good, which tells me that, again, like Mary's opportunistic feeders, people going into LBS services are also opportunistic. So we are in a plaza that's on a very busy sort of the main street in Sydenham, and right next door is a Subway, so I have a feeling that we're getting traffic that may be coming from next door lunchtime. In that LBS site there, it is a resource center, so there are 8 computers. We have 2 offices and a boardroom, and there are both employment and LBS resources there, so print resources, online resources, all kinds of different things. And just in terms of background, how we came about to being there was prior to 2012, that sort of strip plaza that I mentioned was actually a real hub for learning and resources. So just 2 doors down was an adult learning center that was also operated through the Limestone District School Board. We had the LBS Center, and we had a large R&I center, and those things changed. The R&I center moved out, and so we moved into the smaller LBS space. And we, as in St. Lawrence College Employment Services, provided employment service consultant work out there 1 day a week. I'm out there on Tuesdays, and in fact, we've been so successful that now we have a consultant out there 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So the Wednesday staff is from Charlotte Lake, which is our other site, and that's probably about another half an hour north of Sydenham. So we really are trying to reach out with service to more rural clients, and because they are rural, and being rural, there are lots of different barriers that they face than people who would be walking into our Kingston site. So what else should I say? Oh yeah, I should tell you also that Ontario Works used to be in our office with us, which we thought was a great combination of services. So people who might be coming in to see the Ontario Works caseworker might be referred on the spot to either myself or LBS. And unfortunately, the plaza owner increased the rent, and OW found another space to go to, which means it's now just LBS and myself. The Adult Learning Center moved back to the secondary school for the same reason, too much rent to pay. So referrals are not quite as easy, not such a warm handoff anymore, but they still do exist. So let me tell you how being out at LBS serves our clients better. Well, I mentioned the fact that they are rural, they are barriered. Some of those barriers that they face are lack of transportation into Kingston, so there is no bus service out there. Some people walk to our site, some people hitchhike into Sydenham to meet with me, and some people borrow cars in order to get there. So it's nice that they get to see me there in Sydenham rather than having to find themselves all the way either to Sherbet Lake or to Kingston. Another big barrier is less than high school education. So it is great that I can see people there and then refer them either to LBS for upgrading before they go into a full adult ed center program. It's easy for me to talk to people about that, the benefits to them, and try to sell them on education where they might not have otherwise considered it. There are employers, including the City of Kingston, who won't hire anyone, and it's sort of their bottom screening tool is to require a high school diploma. So, you know, that's a little bit of knowledge I can share with the client who's a rural client and help them make a decision to get back into education. It's certainly an easier transition to LBS, as I said, just that warm handoff, being able to get up after I've talked to somebody for the first time and say, if you got a minute, I'd really like you to meet Julia right next door and the kinds of things that she can offer you through upgrading. The other kinds of things that Julia does out there as the LBS coordinator are computer workshops. So that's a regular and ongoing series of workshops that people can attend. And she does one-on-one. We used to have a resource center staff through ES who would go out there with me on Tuesdays, but we found that because part of the date is employment, that Julia was good at doing resumes and basic cover letters, and then she would hand off that to me in order to sort of refine if I felt it needed anything. The other thing that's really helpful because I'm out there is there are some clients who just don't need LBS service, but the fact that I'm in the building and the fact that we share so much information is I can provide clients with appropriate referrals and other places in the community where they can access information. Just by being out there, I know that information. So that's about it for client benefits.
So Laurie, can I interrupt while you're on the client piece? We've got a question.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we've got a question that's come in that may be applicable to both your site and the Kingston site. So how many learners do you serve in this model over the course of the year? And how many do you normally have at any given time?
How many clients would I have in Sydenham? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it goes up and down, but I would say if I have 30 open files in any one month, I would say 10 of them are Sydenham clients.
Okay. And do you have any idea in the Mid-Park office how many are referred into the LBS program and throughout a given year?
I'd say about 35.
35 in a year.
We have, yeah, and then but plus there's probably dozens more who don't take the official leap to sign up as an official student of our LBS program because they get jobs or they're off to something else before we can get them registered in that regard. So dozens and dozens more. I mean, we see people, new faces every week, and then they're gone, they're off to working or whatever. So about 35 official registered is a good number for the year.
And then the rest are usually just closed out of ES because they've secured employment.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Thanks, Janet. So on to benefits to us for using the enhanced link with LBS. We were talking about numbers, so I might as well just go to the bottom bullet, which is increased client base. I would say that Julia and I share 30 to 40% of the clients who come in the door in Sydenham. So that helps us with our referrals. I have a direct link to the Ontario Works and ODSP caseworkers in Sydenham and get lots of referrals. So I reach out to those people, they come in, and often it's the case that they not only should be meeting with me, but I can do an assessment and very often refer them on to Julia for LBS service as well. So there's a really good coordination there. Most important, though, I think, is just communication and information. So when you're working with someone in a fairly small area, a whole day, you're working with the same clients, you're working with the same community service providers, you can't help but share information. Lots of anecdotal stuff is shared between us. We both attend the rural service provider meetings. We both deal with employers in the community, so there's lots of opportunity for us to talk and share information and share best practices and get to know what each of our services does best and how we can improve on those. So that has been a real source of help for me. We do workshops together, so this past spring, we offered a Money Matters series of 4 workshops out in Sydenham, and it was a mix of my clients and Julia's LBS clients, and also some OW clients as well. We've done health and mental health and wellness workshops in the past. We tend to get pretty good results from those as well. Maybe the coffee and free muffins helps, I don't know. There's a really good opportunity for us to build community trust, so we tend to be sort of the one-stop shop for employers. Even just yesterday, for instance, when I was out there, Julia passed on an employer for me who came in and they were looking for a part-time worker, sort of general labor person, just thought they'd stop in and talk to Julia, and she said, well, you know what, Lori's going to be out here tomorrow. Let me hand this off to you and she can get back to you. Maybe she has some potential clients. So it's really nice that we can be that one-stop shop. We also offer, free scanning and faxing and copying for employers, so they get to know that we're a place they can go to if they need some help. Again, just lots of better outcomes for clients moving to LBS, and I would say that's because when they come into me, especially if they're an OW referral, I can send them to OBS when I think, or LBS when it's an appropriate point in their employment search. And it's often the case that OW clients come in needing upgrading, and that has to be done before they can actually go on a job search. And so it just becomes a really nice integrated service. So I would say that's about all I have. I know that Carm wanted to talk about specific testimonials from clients, and he'd like to share that. So if you've got time, I hope you'd like to stay and hear that.
Okay, thanks, Lori. So we'll just talk a little bit about some of the actual people, right, behind all of this technology and all of this money and logistics. There's some really good people, and as Lori mentioned, sometimes it's great to get people jobs, but they're sometimes just not ready. So, there are some community agencies that push to get the jobs and go look for jobs, but they might just be shooting themselves in the foot over and over again, seeing as though they just may not have sort of some of the basic skills they need to get the jobs. So here's a few cases. So Lisa was not sure what she wanted to do, really, career-wise. She had some time. I'm not sure why. I don't know what her financial situation is. That's personal. But for some reason, she did have some time. She was interested in going to post-secondary, just not sure what to take the big plunge with, because that is obviously a 2-year or 3-year program commitment. So she has learned a bunch of different things with us in the meantime, and she has actually gotten herself a very nice volunteer position at KGH, which is the local general hospital, which is actually really hard to get into as a volunteer position. And she's done things starting off doing office administration, and then she has also gotten some good projects doing presentations and graphic design for things like learning modules for employees, and she's also been able to, with us, learn website maintenance and development using WordPress platform. So we've been able to work with her and this employer as a team and keep her filled with confidence and learning the skills that they're requiring for her as they go, and she's now going out for lunches with the staff there and mingling and rubbing shoulders and networking, which is the main thing at the end of the day, and her confidence is growing incredibly. Chris actually sent us an email saying if it wasn't for our training, she wouldn't have had the confidence to ask for more money from the employer who hired her, right? So there's the bottom line there. She learned supply chain management and inventory systems. We gave her a bunch of foundation learning in that area, and then we had our friends, Petra at studyonline.ca, find a bunch of free courses that were very similar to paid ones, but maybe not quite as intense in the supply chain management, inventory management, customer service, warehousing, and all of those sorts of things. So again, referrals and working with our community partners at studyonline.ca. And Nash, she has actually been referred out to a local high school upgrading organization in town to finally get her grade 12 because she was looking for jobs over and over and over again, and then it finally found out that she didn't have her grade 12, and well, maybe that was the problem, right? So we encouraged her to just go and get that, and we have been supporting her along the way, and a lot of that learning overlaps our learning modules, so again, great fit and great integration with the other community partners. Mike ended up doing our build a sketch of a business plan with us, and he did his digital learning with us and learned how to use Excel to write up quotes. Now he runs a geothermal drilling business, has over $150,000 worth of equipment, and is doing work with suburbs up in Toronto, started all here as a client with really none of these skills. So just a couple really good testimonials here of the real people behind some of the slides that we've presented to you today. And there's many more, and every person is so unique, and that's, I think, why our LBSE system's quite interesting, because it is unique. Every person kind of picks their own roadmap here. It's not a cardboard cutout or a cookie cutter kind of curriculum. So I think for all these people and more, it's been a winning game for them. I think that was it then. Unless there are any questions, that was our presentation. So thank you so much.
Well, that's great. It's very informative, and I'm hoping that, as I say, we did